Even William Shakespeare is believed as the father of English literature, and so is Geoffrey Chaucer. Nor was he worldly. Nor he was worldly in the sense a person who thinks about Aristotle and his philosophy, which are bound in black and red, which he carries always near his bed. He would pray diligently for the souls, and then he would pray diligently Hello, hi, namaste and welcome to Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence. I am Nandakishore, Faculty of English in Vidhyaashram, MYSURU. In today's session, I am going to talk about one of the poems prescribed to first semester BA and BCA MYSURU University students, and the title of the poem is The Oxford Clerk, which is written by Geoffrey Chaucer. So in today's session, let us see what is this poem all about. Before I start with my session, it is always important to know about the background of the poet and the background of the poem. This poem is written by Geoffrey Chaucer. It is believed that he was born in 1340s and he died in 1400. There is no authentic information when he was born and when he died, but it is believed approximately that 1340 and he died in 1400. He is best known for the Canterbury Tales. This is very important. Why? Because this poem, The Oxford Clerk, is one story which is taken from this collection of poems or collection of stories. Let me just give you more information after I finish explaining this. Geoffrey Chaucer has been called the father of English literature. This is very important. Even William Shakespeare is believed as the father of English literature, and so is Geoffrey Chaucer, or alternatively, the father of English poetry. So he is being called from both the ways as father of English literature and father of English poetry. Chaucer's many other works are the Book of the Duchess, The House of Fame, The Legend of Good Women, and Troilus and Cresside. So these are the major works of Chaucer. Now let us come back to the Canterbury Tales. Now I am talking about the background of the poem. We got to know the background of the poet. Let me talk about the background of the poem now. So this Canterbury Tales is a collection of 24 stories. 24 tales. Now, who narrated these 24 stories here? Actually, there is a pilgrimage going on. There is a travel or a voyage which has taken place from London to Canterbury. So, this is a journey where pilgrims are traveling, and each pilgrim will narrate 2 stories. How many? 2 stories. One is from London to Canterbury and from Canterbury to London. The other one is from Canterbury to London. So on the way from London to Canterbury, they are going to narrate one story, and from back to Canterbury to London, they are going to narrate the second story. So that is how it becomes 24 stories, 12 pilgrims. And why are they going to Canterbury? If the question is asked, there are possibilities in your examination, they are going to ask question based on the poet or the poem. So to be on a safer side, I'm giving you more information. So they are going to Canterbury to visit the shrine of Saint Thomas Becket. Saint Thomas Becket, and the prize for narrating the good story, the winner will get free meal in Tabard Inn. I-double-N, a hotel in Tabard Inn. So whoever is going to narrate a good story, and the winner will get a free meal in Tabard Inn. So this is about the background of this poem. Now, who is this Oxford Clerk? Let me just tell you, this Oxford Clerk, this story, especially this poem, it is taken from fragment 4. There are 10 fragments like this, and this story, the Oxford Clerk, is taken from fragment 4, which is preceded by Summoner's story, Summoner's tale, and which is followed by the Merchant's tale. This Oxford Clerk poem is narrated after the Summoner's story and after the Oxford tale, the merchant is going to narrate his story. So this is about the background of the poem. Let us straight away get into the text. This is the modern text which is also given in your textbook. There is also the original text. You can read it for further information. I prefer using the modern text for better explanation and so that you can understand it in a better way. A clerk from Oxford was there also. It is about the information, or somebody is trying to introduce this character. Who is this character? The Oxford Clerk. And if you see the original text, this Oxford, the spelling Oxenford, it is written as Oxenford Clerk. A clerk from Oxford was there also. He was there. He is one of the pilgrims there who was going to Canterbury Cathedral, who had studied philosophy. This is very important. What has he studied? They might ask you. He has studied philosophy long ago. He had studied philosophy very long ago. As lean was his horse as is a rake. Now he has come on a horse, and somebody is trying to narrate this, introduce this character. For that matter, it is a poet who is giving information about this Oxford Clerk. And how is he? As lean as his horse. Now here, both the clerk, who is very lean, and also his horse, as is a rake. What is this rake? Rake is a sort of a tool where you will use to make way in marshes, right? In bushy places. You use it just with a big sort of a machete which has a teeth and you have a handle here. So this is a rake, a sort of a big tool. Okay, sort of like machete. And he says, the horse is as thin as this rake. And he too was not fat. He says, and he too. Now who is this? He too, it is the clerk. And he too was not so fat, not so healthy as such. That I take, that I have observed. Chaucer says this. Geoffrey Chaucer, that I take, that I have observed, that I have seen. But he looked emaciated, very thin, very lean, very thin. Moreover, abstemiously, however you pronounce it, who is not indulging in any conversation, who doesn't belong to group, that is what his behavior is. There are 12 pilgrims who are traveling from London to Canterbury to visit the shrine of Saint Thomas Becket. So this is very important, and is not involving himself amongst others. He is not making himself comfortable, who is sort of reserved, I would say. Very thin, he has come on a horse and is very reserved, who has studied philosophy. And what more information do we get? Very worn off was his overcoat. Very worn off. Worn off would be like dirty, torn. His overcoat, for he had got him yet no churchly benefice, where he would get some offerings from the church. He's not getting any money from the church. Nor he was worldly to accept secular office. Now he says, nor was he worldly. Nor he was worldly in the sense a person who thinks about buying something, owning something, trying to make money. Yes, who is obsessed with luxury or worldly things. He's neither of this. He's looking very thin. His overcoat is worn off, torn, dirty. He's not accepting anything from church, the benefits. Nor is he fond of luxury. He's very simple and very reserved. And then he says, for he would rather have at his bed's head, he would rather have at his bed's head some 20 books. How many books? 20 books. 1 marker question. At what place? Where is he having it? It is a sort of a thing like where he uses the books as a pillow. He sleeps on pillow. And the pillow is books. He would rather have it as at his bed's head. Bed's head or somewhere near the bed. Always it shows that he carried the books. He loved books rather than carrying valuables. So what valuables does he carry? He carries around 20 books. It also says he preferred sleeping on the books, just using them as a pillow. Probably. All bound in black or red. This is also 1 marker question. So what is the color of the book? Binding. It is bound in black or red color. Of Aristotle, the thinker. Of Aristotle and his philosophy. So what are these books about? It's about Aristotle and his philosophy. Who is from Greek philosopher. Of Aristotle and his philosophy, these books are, and there are 20 books which he carries, which he possesses. And Chaucer is telling, he is carrying rather than rich robes, fiddle or gay psaltery. So what are these? Rather than having rich robes, rather than having rich clothes, garments, rather than appearing very posh, he appears to be simple. He carries 20 books, of whom Aristotle and his philosophy, which are bound in black and red, which he carries always near his bed. Rather than carrying robes, garments, fiddle is sort of a violin here, sort of a guitar, maybe a musical instrument. And psaltery is, again, it is an instrument where you can see there are strings like this and people go on playing the strings and it gives you music. The sound emits. And Chaucer is giving more information about the worthy possession which they would like to own, which was very famous back then. Rather than having musical instruments, which was considered a valuable possession, he is having books. And then he says, yet, and for all he was philosopher in base. He was a philosopher in base. From the very base, this word base is a bit tricky here. In base, in the sense, it could be round, right from the ground level. Okay, right from the ground level is a philosopher, or he is appreciating the philosophy he talks about, how well he is educated. In base is no other, and he is not following or having any other profession other than reading or preaching philosophy. In very base is a perfectionist, or sort of a perfectionist here. He had but little gold within his suitcase. And then he says, he had little gold, very less gold within his suitcase. He carried a suitcase as well. And what did he have in his suitcase? Gold. 1 mark question. Little gold, not too much. But all that he might borrow from a friend on books and learning, he would swiftly spend. Now, whatever money here, but all that he might borrow from a friend. Borrow what? Money. Currency. Borrow from a friend, and he spends on books and learning. He would swiftly spend. Swiftly, not going to wait. Waiting for long would make him go bankrupt, or he would spend that money on unwanted things. So he swiftly spends, or possibly or probably he loves reading so much. He is fond of reading and is fond of enhancing his knowledge. And then he would pray diligently for the souls, and then he would pray diligently with keen attention, very much into it, diligently for the souls of those who gave him resources. Who is he praying? The people who helped him to buy books and to get his schooling, maybe the school education. Who gave him resources. The resources are money, or it could be some food, or maybe some clothing, any help. And he prayed for them, for their souls, and to attend schools. He is praying them the resources to attend schools. He took utmost care and heed for his study. He took utmost care, very much, and heed for his study, concentration. And then, not one word spoke he more than was necessary. Not even a single word extra. Which means, weigh what you talk. That is the reason the elder people tell you, give you a piece of advice. Just don't blabber what comes to your mind and what comes out of your mouth. No, don't do it. Which talks about, here he is not just reserved, he is also thoughtful. He knows whether to speak or not. If he speaks, how much? If he knows how much, to what extent? If he knows to what extent, to whom? That is very important here. He is a sort of a person who knows in and out of himself. And he says, Chaucer says, not one word spoke he more than was necessary. Unnecessary words, not at all. And that was said with due formality. Due formality. Not just like, speaking the way you wish. If you're talking to somebody who is higher than your position, who is elder to you, you should know to what way you need to talk to them, or to which tone you should talk to them. And he knows it. Just formally, formality. Don't be informal, right? When two friends meet, come on, man, don't be so formal. Yes, and he is maintaining his distance. He is not very good in terms of getting acquainted with other travelers. Or possibly, he didn't want to damage his image. That's how people do, right? That's how people live. You can't damage your image. You need to have or to build your own good image, and he's trying to do one. And dignity, now he says, and that was said with due formality and dignity, and short and lively and full of high morality. Perfect. Dignity and formality, and short and lively and full of high morality. Whatever he spoke was in good terms. It was weighed and then spoken. And whatever he spoke, it was of good values and morality. He never spoke anything unnecessary, unwanted. No, never. Filled with moral virtue, remember, filled with moral virtue was his speech. As I told you, whatever he spoke, any word which was uttered from his mouth was worthy listening. It carried good values, good virtue. And then at last he says, and gladly would he learn and gladly teach. Very important. How did he learn? Gladly, very happily. Gladly would he learn. He also learned. Without learning, we cannot teach. And gladly he taught. Very happily he taught. It's not sufficient. This line is very important because you cannot meet a person who knows everything and who would deliver it to others. We get to see people who know everything, almost few things, who would not deliver it, who would not reveal everything to other people because they are jealous. Other people would also learn without much difficulty. But here, this Oxford clerk is not such a kind of a person. Rather, he prefers reading very happily, merrily. He's very happy with what he's doing, maybe philosophy, and he also teaches the same to other people. That's how good he is. Yes, so that is about this poem. To give you more information, this Oxford clerk, this tale, what story does he narrate? He narrates the story about a king in Italy whose name is Walter, who marries, he's a king from Italy who marries a girl from poor background. Her name is Griselda. And this Walter, he goes on to test her commitment towards him. So that is the story he narrates. For further information, you can just rely on internet. This is what is prescribed for first semester BA and BCA students, and that is it for today's session. I'm going to meet you in my next session with new topic. Until then, have a good day. Take care.